morning. Today is Thursday, February the 26th, and this is microeconomics. And this is, in fact, our last meeting before spring break, which will then be followed by the examination. Okay? Floor is open. Anything you want to chat about? Pertinent to the course or life in general? It doesn't matter.
Do you know anything about the course EPIDOMOLODY?
Epidemiology.
Yeah. How, like, what does that have, like, what is that kind
It
of?
stems from the word that says epidemic. Okay? What is an epidemic?
It's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. Thank you. It is when you have a disease, an infection that spreads throughout a population. Okay? We had the flu epidemic in 1917, killed thousands and thousands of people. We've had, the Black Plague epidemic. Outbreaks of generally very serious diseases. And so taking that course in the Health Services Bachelor's Program, you would be studying the history, the causes, and the methodologies, I suppose, of treating or otherwise being involved with an outbreak of some epidemic. Preventing them, hopefully.
Right.
Immunizations, vaccinations today have put an end to a lot of what we would have had as epidemics in the past. And now with some parents refusing to vaccinate their children against, say, measles, we're seeing outbreaks of it, but not necessarily of a scale, maybe call it epidemic, but certainly an outbreak. It could be a very, very real threat. This ties in with the idea, if you want to get a little futuristic about it, what if terrorists launched an attack with a biological weapon? That the germs from that weapon began to spread and they killed people. How would you deal with that? How do you isolate people who have not yet been touched or people who have been touched so they don't infect others?
Right.
So I don't know exactly what they cover in that course, but I would think it would be somewhere in that general direction, and I think it would be pretty interesting.
Right, okay.
Okay, good. Anything else?
I have questions from the quiz.
There are questions from this. I suppose we ought to do those then. Anything before we do the quiz questions?
Yeah. When did you commit to the mustache?
When did I what?
Commit to the mustache.
Gosh. I was looking at a picture of myself in 1993, and at that time I had a full beard and a mustache. Somewhere I'm thinking about 2007, I shaved the beard. So I've had this for, how many years is that? 20, 25 years? Why do you ask?
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, would you ever shave it? Like, it's become, like, because I saw your picture on, I think, of, like, when you click on microeconomics, and, like, I guess that was a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, like, it's just a conscious decision to keep the mustache. I was just wondering, when did you decide to go with it?
I don't remember when for sure, and I'm not sure I even remember why. I knew that I grew the beard at the time because I was tired of shaving all the time.
Yeah.
The one bad thing about a beard and a mustache, people can see it when it turns gray. Not that that's an issue that has any concern for you, but just saying. I did find when I had the beard also, I walked into Publix one day and some little girl came up and said, "Are you Santa Claus?"
Nice.
Okay. Could be worse. We call worse names by soccer players. Yeah. Okay. What else on your mind? Yes, ma'am?
Quiz 8 is due tonight.
No, it's doing
It's
that.
really now.
Was it due at noon?
Yeah.
Was 8?
Oh, crap. Okay.
Well, if I can think of it, I'll open it up for another hour or two.
Yeah, I'll do it in my science class.
That's cool.
I don't like that class.
All right. Anything else before we pick up economics?
Do you teach the, in the health service program, do you teach the
I don't teach any courses in that program anymore.
Can you get the quiz on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Why?
There's one of them,
There's a managerial economics
Yes.
course.
yes.
And right now, Dr. David Wolf teaches that. I am going to teach that equivalent course in the organizational management program this summer, but I don't customarily do that. Dr. Searcy does.
So that's not the same thing as the managerial?
It's the same material, but two different courses.
Oh.
They have their own course number. Okay? Okay, quiz questions.
Okay. Was number 3. If a firm is at its point of unitary elasticity on a straight line demand curve, A, if
Okay,
you
wait a
read,
minute. First off, you said question number 3. Be advised that the questions get shuffled, so it won't be question number 3 for too many other people.
okay,
Next, let me go through this piece by piece. If you are at the midpoint on a straight line demand curve, is that your question, beginning?
no, if a firm is at its point of unitary midpoint.
Same thing. If a firm is operating here at its point of unitary elasticity, which is the midpoint of the curve, go ahead.
On a straight line demand curve, A, if it raise price, it will earn more revenue.
If they raise price, they'll earn more total revenue. B?
If it reduces price, it will earn more revenue.
Okay.
The slope of its demand curve is -1.
Okay.
If it reduces prices, it will earn less revenue.
If it reduces price, it will earn less revenue. Interesting. Anybody want to chime in with an opinion on this? Better yet, a factual answer, but even an
What
opinion.
was the question one more time?
If a firm's operating at its point of unitary elasticity of demand, that's the the midpoint on the curve. If it raises price, it will earn more total revenue. If it lowers price, it'll earn more total revenue. The slope of the line at that point is 1.00. Or if it lowers price, it will earn less total revenue.
Don't we know the slope is 1?
No, you don't know what the slope is.
Oh.
This is the elasticity of demand, the coefficient. That is not the slope. We talked about that last class. So we can rule this one out in a hurry. We don't know what the slope is. We know that it's constant, but it might be a slope of -3 or -0.67, What about A, B, and D?
Price goes up.
Would it be B?
If they reduce price, their total revenue will go up. They raise price, will their total revenue go up?
Yes, but the decline would.
If they reduce price here, they go from here to here, what happens to their total revenue?
They're gonna sell more, but in a smaller price.
Total revenue is not the same thing as sales volume, how many units. It's how much money.
So it'd be the numbers and multiply?
No,
Where's the elastic and inelastic part of this curve?
elastic is top.
What's that range?
Elastic.
That's the elastic range. I told you last class, you better have this picture down in your mind, right? If you're in the elastic range and you raise price, what happens to total revenue?
It goes up. Oh, it goes down.
You move in opposite directions. So look at the first answer. If I raise price from here to here, will I make more money? No, I'll make less. Okay so far? What about the bottom half of this curve? The inelastic range. Price and total revenue move together, not opposite. So, if I reduce price down here, will my total revenue go up? No, it'll go down. If I reduce price, total revenue will fall. Okay so far? I'm gonna explore this just one more step, okay? Here's another straight line curve, demand curve. Here's the midpoint. If I reduce price from price 1 to price 2, okay, if I reduce price, what happens to my total revenue?
It goes up.
It increases, it gets bigger. You with that? I make more money. If I go from P2 to P3, price 3, what happens to my total revenue? It gets even bigger. And if I keep going all the way down here to price 4, from P3 to P4, what happens to my total revenue? It gets bigger. You with me so far? When I go from price 4 to price 5, what happens to my total revenue? It gets smaller. And if I drop the price a little more, it gets even smaller. So, price 4, at the unitary elasticity point of demand, at the midpoint of the curve, that gives me my maximum, absolute maximum total revenue for my business. Does that make sense to you? Moving down this way, it gets bigger, 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 then smaller, 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 smaller. This is the biggest it gets. Maximum total revenue. Is that the same thing as profit? What's the difference?
Profits after you include all your fixed costs and overhead.
Profit is total revenue. I use this for profit, pi, okay? Profit is total revenue minus total costs. So this is not the profit maximizing point. This is the revenue maximizing point on the curve. Okay? This one?
Is that because on P1 to P2, 2 to 3, that's elastic?
Yes. It's in the elastic range, and I am reducing price each time, which is making my total revenue rise.
Okay.
And then once I start going down in here with lower prices, I'm in the inelastic range, which when I reduce price causes total revenue to move in the same direction or get smaller. Okay?
So the arrows for the elastic are opposite.
Perfect.
The
Right.
total revenue.
In the elastic range, price and total revenue move in opposite directions. There are going to be questions about elasticities that are conceptual, like this, and there are going to be questions that are calculations, like we've done before. And you want to feel comfortable with both of those fields of questions. Okay? Well, that's it. Spring break's starting for me right now. You guys ready to leave?
After this question.
Are you looking forward to spring break?
No,
yeah.
You're what?
I'm working all break. So.
Oh, can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
Sorry.
No problem. Always slow me down if you need to.
Hurry up and slow me down.
I don't have any classes tomorrow, so I'm, you guys are crowding my Miller time, you know what I'm saying? Or my Smirnoff time, how's that?
Nice.
Smirnoff, vodka. How do you think I got this good looking? It didn't come natural. And of course, after a couple of drinks, I am just witty and engaging and just fascinating. Not. All right, next question. Okay.
Good A has an income elasticity of positive 0.32 and a cross price elasticity with a respect to good B of negative 0.46. If the price of B falls by 4% at the same time the income is raised by 4, the market price and output of A will both rise.
Okay, we'll get the answers in a minute, okay? Let's just stop. What did the question give us? The income elasticity of good A is positive 0.32. What does that mean?
The good is
Elastic.
No.
I think I'm getting all those numbers confused.
Yeah.
Like
It's
the
a normal
one,
good.
like the coefficient with the other thing.
The coefficient with other thing.
It is a substitute.
I like that. Let's see if this helps. Under elasticities, there are three big types, okay? Price, income, and cross price. Abbreviated with E, beta, and sigma. So let's try to put these in perspective for a minute. When it comes to price elasticity, we're talking about what happens to the change in quantity when there's a change in price. Okay? But we can do that for two different curves. We can do it for the supply curve, get the elasticity of supply. We can do it for the demand curve and get the price elasticity of demand. Making sense? And then let's talk about the numbers. Elasticity of supply is always what? Greater than 0. Always positive. Why? Because when price changes up, what happens to quantity? It goes up too. Sellers produce more with higher prices. So you always have a positive change over a positive change. It's always a positive number for the supply curve. What about the price elasticity of demand?
Always negative.
Always less than 0 or always negative. Why? Anytime the price goes up, what happens to the quantity demanded? Anytime the price goes up, the quantity demanded decreases, and vice versa. So this is always a negative number. You okay so far? What about income elasticity? Their income elasticity can be positive, okay, or it can be negative. What does it mean if the income elasticity is positive?
It's a normal good.
You're over in crosses now. If the income elasticity is positive, that means, what is income elasticity? How much do people buy when their income changes?
So if it's an inferior.
If it's positive, is it normal or inferior?
Normal.
If your income goes up and you buy more of something, you get a positive coefficient, and that is what kind of good? The normal good. So for normal goods, you have a positive income elasticity, and for inferior goods, you have a negative income elasticity.
Can you say what income elasticity is one more time?
Income elasticity is the change in how much people buy divided by the change in their income, percentage changes. I'm pretty sure if you go back and read Canvas, it's got exactly this little chart laid out. Okay? Tell me about cross-price elasticity. How do we measure cross-price elasticity?
It's a percentage change of quantity demand Y.
Percentage change in the quantity demand, and I'm going to make A right now, okay? Given what?
The percentage change of price of X.
Percentage change in the price of the other good, in this case A and B. How's that? Okay so far? So, if B becomes more expensive, the price goes up, and I buy more A, my purchases of A go up. What kind of goods are those? How are they related?
If it's positive,
If it's positive,
Oh,
they're subcomponent.
they're substitutes. If Coke is more expensive, I buy more Pepsi. So when the cross price elasticity is positive, the goods are substitutes. And if the cross price elasticity
it's negative.
is negative,
They're complements.
they are complements.
I have a question about income because I realize that I have all of this written out. I think I just put it in too much detail and that's why I'm getting confused. I have income elasticity of demand and I have percent change in quantity demanded over percent change in income.
Okay?
And then I have when it's a negative, it's an inferior good. When it's positive and less than 1, and then greater than 1.
Just if it's
Just-
positive, that's all I'm focusing on right now. Whether it's greater or less than 1, doesn't matter for us.
Okay.
And it is, yeah, the income elasticity of demand.
Okay. That's what I think my issue is. I just have too much, like, because price elasticity of demand, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like 0 between 0 and 1, 1 greater than 1, and infinity. That's what the economics tutor gave me. So I just need between 0 and 1 and 1, or greater than 1.
You need it greater than or less than. Yes. Let's go back over here. If the price elasticity is greater than 1 in absolute value, ignoring the negative sign, what kind of demand is it? What kind of elasticity is it?
Elastic.
It's elastic. We got to write all that down, didn't we? It's elastic. If you calculate it and it's less than 1 in absolute value, then it's inelastic. And what if it's equal to 1? It's a unitary elastic or unit elastic. People use different variations of that. This is kind of the skeleton of, here's the facts. You've got to know this. You've got to understand it to wade into a problem like we got over here on the left side of the board. The one on the side of the board is set up to trick you. Because when you look at this one here, you think, ooh, there's the coefficient. I remember how to calculate it, and prices or incomes are going to change 4%. Okay, you could figure out the percentage change in quantity based on this and this, couldn't you? But when you look at the answers, none of the answers talk about the percentage change in sales. The answers talk about the price in the market and the sales or quantity in the market. This question was set up so you didn't have to do the calculations. You just had to know that this was a normal good and incomes rose. What does that mean? Incomes rise. It's a normal good. What happens?
Demand rises.
Huh?
Demand goes up.
Demand increases. Let me get this to work. I doubt it. How about that? There's going to be an increase in demand. And again, if you started trying to do calculations with these numbers, you could get an answer, but it's not the kind of answer that crops up in the answer key. What kind of goods are these? A and B. Have a negative coefficient. They're complements. So I have two goods that are complements. And the price of one falls. What does that mean? Will it fall or rise?
They're complements.
They're complements. They go opposite.
They go opposite.
Demand for A is going to increase. You with me so far? This happens, and this happens, and guess what? They're the same damn thing. So what do we know is going to happen in this question?
The demand's going to go up.
Demand's going to go up. What's going to happen to price?
Price is going to go up.
Price is going to go up.
Yeah. Wait, price is going to go up?
Anytime demand increases,
Oh.
demand curve shifts to the right. It causes the price to rise, and it causes the quantity to rise, and that's what's going on. That's the answer in that question. This is one where it's not calculations, it's concepts. Normal good, rising incomes, complementary goods, falling price. There's what's happening. So this is probably one of the trickier questions you ran across.
Can you read the question one more time?
Yeah, the question is, good A has an income elasticity of positive 0.32 and a cross price elasticity with respect to good B of negative 0.46. If the price of B falls by 4%, at the same time the incomes rise by 4%, then I think it will be the market price and output of A will both rise.
Will both rise.
Okay.
Does that make sense, everybody?
That's a really hard one.
That is a tough one.
Well, you just have to have all of it down. Like, be
Isn't
able
that a
to,
bitch? You know, you gotta have all of it down.
I bet like every aspect of what we're going over.
I'm telling you, yeah.
And if you get like one thing switched, your whole thing's messed
The whole
up.
thing's gonna be messed up.
How would you like them mathematically? Like doing the...
You'll have multiple choice answers.
So we'll know if it's math or not.
Yeah, if you see all these figures and then you look at the answers and there's no figures in there, oh, this is a concept question, not a calculation question. If, on the other hand, you spent 15 minutes trying to figure out the calculations, I win.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
You are not atypical. A lot of people do. Can I erase this side of the board now? And this one?
No, just a second.
Not yet. Okay. What else on your mind?
So I have a question.
Mhm.
It kind of threw me off. So it was from the quiz. It says supply curve number 1 has an elasticity of supply of 1.21.
Okay, hang on. Supply curve 1 has an elasticity of supply of 1.21.
And then supply curve number 2 has an elasticity supply of 32, my bad. Which curve reflects a longer time period?
We did this in class the other day. You might not have been here. It's on video somewhere. It's at the beginning of the class. But the basic rule is this. When the elasticity of supply is less than 1, just like the elasticity of demand, it's a fairly inelastic supply. If it's greater than 1, it's elastic.
Right.
Well, this is an inelastic curve, which says if the price goes up a whole lot, sellers don't produce very much more at all.
Okay.
But if they had more time to respond to that price, they might produce not that much more, but maybe this much more. So we'd be out here, which means the supply curve is becoming more elastic
Okay.
over time. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Same question, good.
Makes
Same
sense.
concept, yeah, not same question.
Yeah, I remember you going over this one, so the moral to it is
The more elastic the supply,
more elastic, more
the
time.
longer the time frame. Why is the price elasticity of supply of the Mona Lisa perfectly inelastic?
Because there's only one of them, and the
Why is-
quantity affects it.
Yeah, why is the price elasticity for the Mona Lisa perfectly inelastic? And the answer is because there's only one of the damn thing. Click. That would make to me a good test question. Okay?
That is the price elasticity of demand and instead of.
This is price elasticity of supply. Perfectly inelastic.
Is that kind of similar to the, or is this a completely different subject where you said about like the amount of two-bedroom apartments in Gainesville?
Same thing. As of today, there are 13,000
So no matter how many, no matter what the price is, that's how many there are.
today.
Yeah.
But the supply curve over the next 6 months would become more and more and more elastic. Good.
Okay, just to check, it says like if the income elasticity of a good A is positive 1.32 in a recession, the quantity supply of A will fall. Of A will fall.
If the elasticity, no, income elasticity or what?
Of a good A is 1.32 in a
Okay.
recession.
Positive or negative?
Positive.
So the price elasticity?
This is income elasticity. And you have a recession. This is a concept question. If you have, what does recession mean?
Incomes goes down.
Incomes are falling.
Negative.
So if incomes fall and you have a normal good, what happens to the demand for that good?
It goes down.
It decreases. So graphically, that means we go from this to this, a decrease in demand. Sounding familiar? Okay. Describe the movement from equilibrium A to equilibrium B. What is one way to describe that?
Downward movement on the supply.
Decrease in demand, decrease in price, decrease in equilibrium quantity, and decrease in quantity supplied. So any of those answers would be correct about this observation.
Yeah, the quantity supplies of A will fall.
Supply didn't change, quantity supplied changed.
So it gave us, it said that income elasticity of demand is positive 1.32.
And it gave you that income, that you're in a
It
recession.
said there's
so
a
income
recession,
supply.
so it's implied income.
Exactly. Good. Other questions, comments? Anything?
Oh, yeah. If a straight line supply curve intersects the price axis.
All right. If a straight line supply curve intersects the price axis, what does it look like?
It's horizontal. Elastic.
It's fairly flat. Okay? Could it also be flat and intersect the quantity axis? Sure. Here's S1, here's S2. Which one is the elastic supply curve and which one is the inelastic supply curve?
S2 is inelastic.
Good. Anytime that intersects the quantity axis, it's going to be inelastic. If it intersects the price axis, it's going to be elastic. If the total variable cost at 6 units of output is $430, and total variable cost at 7 units is $500, What is the marginal cost of the 7th unit? What is marginal cost? It's the cost or the extra cost for one more unit. Suppose, well, you have total fixed cost plus total variable cost equals total cost, okay? But what do we know? Total fixed cost doesn't change, it's fixed. So the only change to cost every time you produce another unit is a variable cost change. This is the only change in cost, $70. So that's the extra cost of unit number 7. If you work through that table of costs, you should be able to deal with that without any hesitation. You got to know where all the numbers come from on that table. I asked you to do that for today, and then let me know if you had any issues.
Took a 70, right? Sounds right.
70, right?
Oops, yes. No wonder you're looking at me like I'm speaking Greek. Sorry. I really wanted to leave it there and then put it on video and let the people at home worry about what the hell was going on, but okay, that's fine. Other questions?
Can we do one?
No? I'll deal with questions. I'm not gonna lay out a table and go through the entire explanation because it is right there on the video. The PowerPoint, I forgot which it is.
It's a video. It's a video.
It's a video?
Yeah.
Technological wizard I am.
Is it in the last class or in another?
It's in the extra videos that he
He like just posted it. Yeah.
It's in the video that was posted from last, but there is and I was thinking it was a PowerPoint.
It's like you're talking through a PowerPoint, so it's kind
Okay,
of
so it's a
video.
voiceover PowerPoint.
Right, right.
And it lays it out step
Yes,
by
yes.
step by step. And I suggest if you watch that 3 times, it should be very clear. That's why I was hoping you would have done that before you come to class and asked me if there's anything about it not clear. Some of you have clearly watched it, not any trouble with it.
It's really self-explanatory.
Thank you. I've been told that for several years now, that that's very self-explanatory. Good, then I don't need to explain it again. Sir?
For this test, we doing the whole group thing, or do you think just generally watching the videos until you just get the main concept?
He said to do a group because he didn't give us that big of a review.
Yeah, I didn't give you as many study questions this time as I did for the first exam. So my suggestion is you get a group together, go to that practice questions on elasticities, for example, or create your own cost tables and present them to each other and explain them. I have a study group in my macro class before this. I went over to the library and met with them one day just to say hi. There were 7 of them there. And I mean, they had some really specific questions for me because they'd been presenting this stuff to each other and explaining it, and they'd run into, oh, well, this isn't very clear. And, you know, we knocked it out pretty quick. But if you want to know, if you know something, try to tell somebody else how it works. Try to explain it to somebody else. And if you get used to doing that, college gets to be a whole lot more mechanical and simple and, in fact, more fun. Because if you go to try to explain that to your study group and you can't get it across and they can't quite understand it, I promise when you come to the class, your questions will be very specific. And that's the way I intended this course to run. You watch the videos, you come to me with your questions. I don't spend class time lecturing and introducing and explaining the material. I will help you resolve your problems or issues. Okay? Same thing for the third exam. Yes, ma'am.
The table, will you give us the variable cost? 'Cause
In the
that's what
table,
you did.
I will have to give you the fixed cost. Well, if I gave you the total cost for 7 units, and I gave you the variable cost for 7 units, you know that the difference between them is fixed. So I could do that and not even give you any numbers in the fixed cost column,
Okay.
but you'd be able to figure it out. I will always give you enough numbers
Okay.
to figure it out.
There'll be at least, what, 2 numbers?
Oh yeah, there'll be at least 2 or 3 numbers in there.
Okay.
Sure.
Because we had those in accounting, and my accounting teacher used to make, like, give us the bare minimum, and you'd have to, like, work it backwards.
Yeah, it's like a crossword puzzle almost, you know? If I gave you all the marginal costs in one variable cost, total variable cost, how do you get the rest of the total variable cost?
You gave us marginal?
Yeah, you just add
Add
that
it
to the
back
total
together.
variable, add it back, add it back. Yeah. Yes, ma'am?
It's, the last question of the case, it says, which statement is true? The marginal cost curve intersects both the average variable cost curve and the average total cost curve at the minimum points.
Okay.
True, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that one, then it will be false because it's the only one true. Because the other one is like the marginal cost curves intersects the average cost curve at its minimum point, but it does not intersect the average variable cost curve at its minimum point.
Okay, let's just draw that quickly. You want to be very comfortable with this picture here. Average total cost, average variable cost. If you find the lowest point on each curve, the lowest point, that's where the marginal cost goes through them. So there's marginal cost. You want to know that. Remember we talked about it last class in terms of economies of scale, diseconomies of scale, okay? So the statement was marginal cost intersects average variable cost and average total cost at their minimum point. And that's exactly what we've drawn here. It intersects ABC at its minimum and ATC at its minimum. Okay?
Can you read the other ones?
One of them was that it intersects the minimum ABC but not the ATC. Wrong, because it intersects them both.
Yeah, the first one it says intersects one at the minimum and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And the other is like intersects ABC at minimum and ATC at some other point.
Yeah.
So marginal.
Let me ask you another question based on that graph though.
What other?
True or false? If marginal cost is falling, if average cost is falling, marginal cost is less than average cost. True or false? If average cost is falling, then marginal cost is less than average cost. Where is average cost falling? Where do we
In
show
the
that?
beginning and
It's
range.
this part of the curve, and that relates to this range of output, okay, in here. That's where average cost is falling. Over this range of output is the marginal cost less than the average cost. Less than means below it. And the answer is any output you want to pick. When you read up, the marginal cost is lower. The marginal cost is below the average cost. Disregard that. You with me so far? Average cost is falling, marginal cost below it.
And then when average cost is rising, then it starts.
If average cost is rising, then what?
It's
Marginal cost is greater than or above average cost. That would be out here. Pick any level of output. Read up. The average cost is less than the marginal cost, or the marginal cost is more than the average cost. You reading those with me okay?
But AC and ATC is the same, right?
AC and ATC are the same thing. Use them interchangeably. Just in case. Average total cost. Remember that one? What do we call that range?
Economy of scale.
Economies of scale. What do you call this range?
Diseconomies.
What do you call this range?
Constant.
Constant cost. Where do you suppose the marginal cost is for that curve? Average cost is falling. Marginal cost is below it. Marginal cost is down here somewhere. So I'm going to have to break down and buy my own damn crayons, ain't I? So that's marginal cost. When average cost is rising, where's marginal cost?
Or above.
It's above. So we know marginal cost does this. What about when average cost is constant?
Is it right?
When average cost across here is constant, it's also marginal cost. You see how I'm reading that? Okay.
Question like 9. Every time PK Whiskers taxidermy creates a trophy, their amount, it costs $250.
Every time PK Whiskers Taxidermy, that was my company, creates a new deer trophy mount, it costs $250. Every one. Go ahead.
Does the marginal cost curve for this product falls, then rises as output increases?
What happens is, what is the marginal cost of each one of those trophies?
It's $250, so it's flat.
Constant. It's flat.
So it's constant.
So we know that constant costs. Yeah.
So the marginal cost is $250 and the average cost is $250.
Exactly right. Good.
If a firm has an average total cost curve that falls over its entire range of production,
Good. If your average total cost curve falls over your entire range of production, what are we talking about here? Your range of production is how many units can you produce? Let's say my factory can produce between 0 and 1,000 units per week. That's my range of production. If my average cost curve falls over that entire range,
Oh, I thought it meant falls like it's always there, and I was like,
what would it mean that it falls?
so it
it's
decreases.
like
That it's always falling.
I had a blonde moment. I think it meant falls like it, you know when something falls over something? Like it touches all of it?
Blah, blah, blah.
I was like, of course it does.
If the average total cost curve looks like that, what can you tell me about that company?
They have high marginal cost.
this firm has a decreasing cost over its entire production.
This firm has decreasing costs
Oh, so
over its entire range of production. That's true. What can you tell me, where's the marginal cost curve for that? Say again? Below it. So the marginal cost curve is going to be somewhere out here. You're going to see that next exam, not this exam, but extensively on the, you might see it on this one since we talked about it. But, okay?
So when average total cost is decreasing, marginal cost is always below it.
Exactly.
Okay, so I was trying to make the marginal cost curve look like that.
Don't.
And that's why I was like, well,
Yeah. We usually draw the marginal cost curve as looking like that.
that's what I was trying to make it do.
That's because of this. All right? Other questions, comments? I will check Canvas email once or maybe twice over spring break. So if you want to contact me, feel free to do so. Just don't expect anything resembling an instantaneous reply. But seriously, I will be checking it, so if you run into some issues, let me know. Next week, following the exam, again, if you're in the Tuesday section, take it on Tuesday. If you're in the Thursday section, take it on Thursday. If that pauses or poses some sort of difficulty for you, let me know. Question?
It's still in the bowl.
It's still in the bowl. And maybe I'll get it right. Yes, sir.
Any questions?
I haven't made it up yet, but my guess, 35, maybe 40 questions. I may have a few true-false questions in those. I want you to think about that for a moment, because your third exam is almost entirely true-false, unless I change it. What's the difference between 10 multiple-choice questions and 40 true-false questions? It's still,
There's no difference, you have a 40.
there's 40 statements that you've got to evaluate.
There's A, B, C, and D on 10, so that's 40 options,
That's
true
right.
and false.
So if I have 40 or 50 questions, a lot of them would be true-false. But I'll probably have predominantly multiple choice and probably around the range of 35 questions.
Can you extend the quiz for me?
Can I
40 minutes?
quiz 8? I'll try to remember.
Doesn't it stop in 4 minutes?
I'll remember that. All right, anything else? Be safe over the break. I'll see you. Bye.